I now declare this road open. The long-awaited and much-needed route to and from the motorway network has finally arrived. On October the 27th, 1994, Under-Secretary of State for Transport Stephen Norris MP performed the ceremony of the opening of the A570 St Helens Town Centre to the M62 Link Road, bringing to an end the nightmare of confusion, chaos and cones that had confronted every traveller to St Helens since work on the road began in June 1991. With a population of 180,000, the borough of St Helens had its boundaries widened in the mid-70s to include its neighbours Billinge, Eccleston, Haydock, Rainford, Bold, Newton-le-Willows and Rainhill. In the 14th century, St Helens was a tiny hamlet. A chapel of ease by the name of St Helens stood where today stands the town's parish church, a far cry from the busy church square with its many shops and shoppers of today. Not too far away at Windleshaw stands the town's oldest building, which can be found in the grounds of St Helens Cemetery. Dating back to 1439, Windleshaw Chantry, known to locals as the Abbey, had been built by one of the area's famous landowners, Sir Thomas Gerard of Bryn, to celebrate Mass and to pray for the repose of the souls of his family. The town's oldest used building, standing quietly and seemingly alone, the Society of Friends Meeting House is at the end of Church Street and is a place of worship for Quakers. The characterful architecture of the meeting house reflects the simplicity and austerity of our ancestors from 300 years ago. Built in the year 1600 and soon afterwards to be owned by George Shaw, a saddler from Bickerstaff, after whom two of the streets behind the meeting house were named, George Street and Shaw Street. The sundial seen above its entrance still records the correct time. The town's fortune lay beneath its surface. Black gold, coal. And although digging for coal was taking place as early as 1330 in the town of Ashton in Makerfield, the earliest documented evidence shows that 1540 was the year when mining began in anger in the township of St Helens in the Sutton Heath area. As the population grew, each new hearth put pressure on the town's fuel supply, increasing the demand for coal. St Helens saw its landscape change as coal pits began to appear all over the town. The rapidly growing port of Liverpool and the Cheshire saltfields were now turning to coal instead of wood as a source of fuel, putting even greater pressure on the town's resources. The Industrial Revolution was to bring about many changes. In 1746, the Liverpool to Prescott Turnpike Road was extended to St Helens to meet the growing needs for better transportation. It was also thought that the Sankey Brook could be made navigable and so develop another avenue of transporting coal to the port of Liverpool. But during its construction, a new waterway developed, and in 1762 Britain's first canal had arrived and the exploitation of coal grew rapidly. By 1845, St Helens had established itself in another industry, glass. Ravenhead was the site of the British Plate Glass Company, soon to be followed by at least another 15 glassworks, including the now world-famous glassmakers Pilkington. The arrival of photography around the 1850s enables us to see how the town centre had now begun to take its shape. The original town hall, built in 1839, survived only until 1871, when it was destroyed by fire. Plans for its replacement were immediate, with its foundation stone being laid in 1873, followed by its opening on the 5th of June 1876. It's now April 1905, and the town's statue of Queen Victoria is being unveiled. With a jerk of the tape, His Lordship unveils the huge cast image. The national anthem is played, and the mayor accepts the statue of Queen Victoria from Colonel Pilkington, saying that the municipality would treasure the gift and the memory of Queen Victoria as long as they lived. The new town hall came close to suffering the same fate as the original building back in 1871. Redecoration was taking place in preparation for King George V's visit in 1913, when fire broke out. It's thought that a workman accidentally set fire with his blow lamp to this wooden structure above the clock tower. It was due to the bravery of another workman who scaled the building, taking up a fireman's hose, that saved it from complete destruction, as the fire brigade's pumping apparatus was not powerful enough to reach. Pilkington's Cowley Hill Works, manufacturers of the finest plate glass, were host to King George V and his wife Queen Mary after their visit to the town hall. They were received by Colonel Pilkington at the start of their 45-minute tour, during which they would see the furnaces, the casting hall where glass was cast, and the complete process of glass making. As the party visit the new powerhouse, the king tries his hand at starting the new turbo generator, which is amongst the largest of its kind. During the tour, the royal party experienced the novelty of riding on this huge grinding table, which is used for the conveyance of glass. After the royal party left the works at 11:15, they drove through Victoria Park, where 20,000 schoolchildren, marshalled by teachers, each waved their Union Jacks to the King and Queen as they drove past, making their way to Southport. The smell of smoke at 3:15 on the morning of December the 2nd, 1916, alerted the attentions of a post office worker. Fire had again claimed one of the town's buildings. The victim was the old parish church. During the day, the scene attracted many sightseers, including the vicar and the chief constable. The earliest record of the church is in a deed dated the 23rd of January 1614. The laying of the foundation stone for the new church took place on June the 17th, 1920, by the Lord Bishop of Liverpool. Two centuries of hospitality in St Helens. The Fleece Hotel, a well-known place of rest for weary travellers near to the Bridge Street end of Church Street, was also the venue for many occasions and celebrations. This happy couple were probably one of the last to have their wedding reception there. It closed and was demolished towards the end of the 1980s. W.H. Smith now stands on the site of the Fleece Hotel. Some areas of the town have remained much the same since the early 1900s, yet sadly many old buildings have fallen into decay and have been demolished to make way for the new. Bring your babies and have them weighed during Health Week, beginning on October the 7th until the 13th, 1923. A group of St Helens babies and their mothers star in a film to be shown in local cinemas. The object of Health Week is to draw public attention to health matters and to arouse a sense of personal responsibility throughout the town of St Helens. The call is health, and will be heard from each direction, and everyone will be told the 10 top hints for health. Keep the home and yourself clean. Dirt breeds disease. Let sunshine into your rooms. Sunshine kills disease germs. Open windows day and night. Fresh air is necessary for health. Clothe to suit the weather. Chills lower vitality. Eat plain, well-cooked food. Bad feeding undermines health. Keep food scrupulously clean. One particle of dirt means millions of germs. Keep the teeth clean and sound. Bad teeth poison the system. Take open-air exercise. It improves mind, strength and digestion. Don't neglect the early cough. It may lead to consumption. Avoid excess in all things. Newspapers were full of advertisements to help promote Health Week. Oxley's offered Allinson's food for babies and invalids with bodybuilding value from only 10pence halfpenny. Nevin's Ideal Bread at only 3pence farthing per £2 loaf, while at Dromgoole's you can keep your baby warm with a lamb's wool bonnet for only 1 6. There are baby shows with prizes for the bonniest babies. The 1793 Low House Church bids farewell to welcome the new building, described as a poem in stone. Father Reginald Riley and his people see crowned the work of a lifetime on October the 27th, 1929. Archbishop Downey opens the new church of St. Mary's Low House. It's a glorious day, and it's beyond all doubt that the church which has been built is a basilica. The total cost of the building when complete will be a staggering £100,000. The tower is 140 feet high, with the height of the dome measuring 120 feet. It has the most complete carillon of bells, the largest in Britain. If you want to relax at the end of today's busy procession, now showing at the Rivoli in Corporation Street, St. Helens, the all-talking masterpiece, The Trial of Mary Duncan, is on the silver screen and is hailed as the greatest all-talking picture ever made. Its rival town centre cinema, boasting in its local advertisements to be St. Helens' luxury theatre, shows The Shady Lady, a silent film with music provided by Gerard and the Capitol Orchestra. Over 3,000 people swarm Newton Common on Sunday, July the 10th, 1932, for the opening of a new church, St. Patrick's. Father William Rylance is to be the newly appointed parish priest. It had been decided the previous year by Archbishop Downey, who says that St. Mary's Parish Newton should be divided so as to serve the people of Earlstown. The cost to erect the building is £2,500. A small sum compared to the £35,000 to be spent on the proposed super cinema to be called the Savoy. The site will be in Bridge Street, covering the whole vacant area next to Exchange Street. The building will be constructed of brick and glass supplied by local firms. The Capitol Cinema just across the town is in full swing, currently showing the comedy hit of the season, You Made Me Love You. If you've a headache after the film, reach for an Aspro at only threepence a pack of 30. And if you pass the Co-op on your way home, you'll notice another bargain, ladies' gloves at £1 a pair. It looks like St. Thomas's Church, Eccleston, is joining in the film war as they launch their first motion picture. The call is God Save the King, as the band gets tuned up and tuned in to the Jubilee celebrations of 1935. However, it's not only to produce films, but also to show them. The Reverend Winsland of St. Thomas's Church, Eccleston, has been carrying out an experiment: the church and the cinema. 22 million people every week go to the cinema, and so he's purchasing a projector at a cost of £20 with the intention of giving parents and children good, clean entertainment by hiring in films at 8 shillings each, with a door charge of a penny for children and twopence for adults. The schoolroom is regularly so crowded that we have to have 3 houses every Friday night, said the Reverend. After paying all expenses, we found we were making 30 shillings to £2 every night. Reverend Winsland also has Question and Answer Sunday. The first question is, what is your opinion of sweepstakes? The second query is, should reverent people laugh in church? I'm sure if all these people joining with this procession in the name of Christ Jesus are having so much fun, then the answer must be yes. Although in 1935, many held the misconception of tiptoeing into church, too terrified to speak and deeming it wrong to laugh or even smile. Two years later, large-scale preparations are underway and all the local papers carry reports on official arrangements for the crowning of King George VI and his wife Elizabeth, which will take place on May the 12th, 1937. The Town Hall and Gamble Institute are causing a spectacular shimmering delight with their decorations for the event for the thousands of townsfolk during the coronation celebrations. If you fancy a trip to the Isle of Man for a long day excursion during Newton Holiday Week, all you have to pay is 6 shillings and 6 pence. The trip is on offer from Earlstown Cooperative Society on Wednesday the 21st of July 1937. Or if you'd rather stay in your own hometown, come along to the Newton in Makerfield Carnival. The list of events is endless as the day begins. Window dressing is to be judged in the morning, then horses and motors, along with trade displays on the market square, before the grand parade promptly leaves at 3 o'clock. Why not develop the carnival spirit and make the day a real holiday? Admission to the field is 6p or 3p for children, and is worth every penny, if only to see local beauty Olive Lomas steal the title of Newton Carnival Queen 1937. The Pavilion Cinema, Earlstown, holds shows twice nightly at 6:30 and 8:20, as does its rival, the Curzon. And don't forget, ladies, for your next perm, try Olive Parrot at 50 Lee Street. It only costs 7 and 6. The fundraising organisers would like to thank all for their kind donations, including Messrs. Greenall Whitley of St Helens and Messrs. Peter Walker and Son of Warrington, who each gave £5. By the way, if you're a female shorthand typist, Newton in Makerfield Urban District Council have a vacancy at 13 shillings a week. Who can resist? Saturday, April the 28th, 1956, and Saints are going to Wembley. £150,000 is to be spent on the trip for the big match. The Saints beat Halifax 13-2, and Alan Prescott gets the cup. Supporters paint the town red and white for the triumphant Saints, who get a hero's welcome on their return. And for the first time in 59 years, the Wembley Cup comes to Knowsley Road, home of St Helens Rugby Club. Just across the road from St Helens Rugby Club is St Luke's Church, Eccleston, where their main requirement is an organ, so says the vicar of the church, the Reverend Roy Barker, in the 25th birthday souvenir brochure of his church. The present organ was the property of the Beecham family, and it's believed that at one time it was used at the works. The organ was used when members of the parish church used to worship in the town hall, and later rebuilt into the organ chamber of St Luke's. It was renovated in 1947 and rededicated as a memorial to the late Herbert Greenall Piggott, who was the voluntary organist and choirmaster for many, many years. Not only is the vicar up your street, but so are today's prices. Nevin's announce in the paper special price week for the housewife. Finest New Zealand butter at 2 shillings and 10 pence a pound. And tins of tomatoes for only 10 pence halfpenny. While Oxley's are selling ladies' blouses, skirts and jumpers at only 7 and 6 each, and a chance of a free holiday at the ever-popular Butlins holiday camp. Down the road from St Luke's and the rugby club is Eccleston Mere, where the peace and tranquility will soon be shattered as bulldozers move in to realise the plans afoot to build 750 houses on the land opposite. Councillor Reeks would have preferred an alternative site across the other side of the East Lancashire Road, as the proposed one, near to Bobby's Lane, will take over half of UGB Sports Ground. A more ambitious building project by the local authority is well underway. The new St Helens Technical College, covering a total floor space of 200,000 square feet, is planned to accommodate more than 3,000 students. The first phase of the 8-storey building will be completed in the next year. Right at this very moment, work in Sherdley Park is being speeded up as more land formerly owned by Colonel Michael Hughes is released to the local authority by the Ministry of Agriculture. The gardens were opened to the public for the first time in the year of the Jubilee, and already this year a further 57 acres have been released, much of which has been sown with grass. Within the next 4 years, a pitch and putt course and soccer pitches will be added, making Sherdley Park one of the finest for miles around. Miners from all over Lancashire are gathering, arriving by the busload, as a procession of more than 5,000 people assemble in Boardman's Lane, Par, for the March to Bold Institute. Everything possible to ensure a good time for all is being done back at Bold Miners in Fleet Lane. Despite the weather, they're ready to set off. A dozen bands representing some 50 Lancashire mines play with extra gusto despite rain falling heavily. Some of the banner carriers have a job to keep steady as the strong wind tries to blow them away. Harold Wilson speaks to the crowds, saying we must view with more concern the fact that more and more of our industry is falling into foreign hands, and then challenges Sir Alec to tell us which firms they will now guarantee will not fall into the hands of financial manipulators in this country. Although many of the qualifying heats have been cancelled due to the bad weather, the Morris dancers put on a grand display as the weather begins to brighten up. These beauties posing for the camera are the Gala Queen finalists of the year, with jubilant Pat Rigby crowned Miss Lancashire Miners Gala Queen, and the runners-up Joyce Wayne and Pauline Hanna. I wonder if the prize money will be enough to enable the winner to purchase from Denton's garage a new Triumph Herald at only £580. Despite the closure of Lime Pit on Thursday, the 26th of March 1964, the National Coal Board are advertising for ex-miners and young men promising excellent opportunities. All entrants will receive 3 weeks training at £10 7 and 6 a week, automatically increased to £11 7 and 6 on going underground. Oxley's ever-popular family store in the town are advertising many bargains, including ladies' skirts and cardigans at 10 shillings each, seam-free nylons at 2 and 9 a pair, and ladies' trews at 19 and 11. The same month saw the opening of the new-look Theatre Royal, with a performance by the BBC Orchestra broadcast live to 500,000 homes in Britain as they presented a programme in their Music to Remember series. The evening was indelibly marked by the announcement during the show of the birth of a third son to the Queen. Sir Harry Pilkington said it was a night to remember. A 100 years ago today, Queen Victoria put her royal seal on a document which created the Borough of St Helens. The town celebrates its centenary year in 1968, with all police leave cancelled, so that traffic can be controlled and directed for the great centenary gala procession to make its way to Sherdley Park, St Helens, the biggest traffic operation the town has ever seen. A team of judges are to be on the town hall steps to vote for the best float in the procession, which is almost a mile long. Riding through the streets is the show queen Margaret Young, an attractive 24-year-old from Sutton. Her triumph earned her 2 weeks holiday in Mallorca for two, a cash prize of £50, along with other gifts donated by local businesses. The gigantic 3-day Mardi Gras, which has taken months of careful planning, boasted more than £500,000 worth of equipment to help ensure the authorities' venture would be a complete success. Displays included the highly skilled Red Devils falling from the sky, horse riding and show jumping, a team of 16 men from the Royal Artillery Motorcycle Display Unit, and much, much more. Due to the serious staff shortage at St Helens Transport, special bus services cannot be provided. But that doesn't stop the crowds, which at one point can be seen as a continuing queue of people almost a mile long. The biggest show the town has ever known will be staged annually for many years to come, to the delight of its thousands of visitors who travel from all over. Hundreds of people crowd the corner of Bowdler's shop in Kirkland Street, awaiting the arrival of the Queen. The dog, having a scratch in the sunshine sitting on the cobbled road, is probably wondering what all the fuss is about. The police seem to be in control of the situation as the crowds jockey for best position. And at last, the cavalcade approaches. The waiting is over as she arrives in style in her new Triumph car. No, not that Queen. It's the Queen of the Street. In fact, both Queens of the Street, to perform the opening ceremony of Bowdler's newly refurbished shop. Pat Phoenix and Jean Alexander, better known to millions of viewers as Elsie Tanner and Hilda Ogden of Coronation Street. Scissors in hand, the ribbon is cut and the shop is open. Elsie poses for the cameras before leaving, probably for the Rovers and a glass of Newton and Ridley's Best. Helena House, a much-loved shopping place for many years amongst the townsfolk of St Helens. The huge store with its ballroom above, the scene of many a celebration. A well-known meeting place, everyone knew where to find the Blowout, the store's air vent that blew out hot air and would keep you cozy on cold nights while waiting for friends, loved ones, or even the 97 to Moss Bank. I wonder, did it ever run? It was also the stopping point for many of the St Helens Corporation bus services, and in the morning rush hour or the evening, its long glass side windows and front would reflect the constant flow of people and red and white buses. There were also bus stops all around the back. Now, the four roads, Baldwin Street, Clawton Street, College Street and Cottam Street, surround a hole in the ground, fenced off with wood to conceal the eyesore. Not all the saints are in heaven. There are those you see here on the hallowed turf at Knowsley Road, St Helens. Tom van Volenhoven, seen here in action in 1967 at Knowsley Road, the year before he ended his career with the club. He's been with the Saints since 1957 and is undoubtedly one of the club's most prolific players. During his stay, he's made 409 appearances, knocking up 392 tries and 1,176 points. Wigan, at the end of their worst season for 64 years, will put their team up for offer. The axe will fall on 13 players, including 5 internationals from the Wembley lineup last May. The total transfer fees involved amount to £14,000, but they're keeping tight-lipped about who their replacements will be. The announcement from the Knowsley Road camp reads that Tom van Volenhoven is as welcome to Saints fans as a Beatles record to teenagers. The St Helens Rugby Club was conceived at a meeting in the Fleece Hotel, November 1873. They've tucked many triumphs under their belts since those early days. In May 1972, St Helens Corporation Transport made the announcement, owing to the general exodus from the town on this day of the Wembley Cup final, it will not be possible to operate as normal. They were already suffering sadly depleted staffing levels, and regular adverts tried to woo applicants with the offer of £24.40 with guaranteed overtime of £2 a week to drive the double-deckers. Transport problems or not, it hasn't stopped the Saints supporters arriving everywhere along the route turning out in their thousands to welcome home their heroes. St Helens beat Leeds 16-13 to become winners of the 1972 Challenge Cup final at Wembley Stadium, London. The same year, 100 process workers are to lose their jobs from British Sidak at Sutton, cutting the plant's process workers down to 500. You could buy a terraced house in Boundary Road for just £1,600, or for something a little bigger, a 4-bedroomed house with central heating and brick garage at King Edward Road, a mere £4,800. The Queen is visiting the town, and this time it's not Elsie Tanner or Hilda. It's the year of her Silver Jubilee, and Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip will be arriving any moment. Parades led by bands march along Duke Street with its Union Jacks hanging from shop doorways. They march on toward the town centre to line the streets for the entourage. There are thousands of people and children in their Sunday best. Chains of red, white and blue flood the air. Finally, the Queen and Prince Philip appear round the corner by Cotham's tile shop. The cameraman has to move very fast in order to keep up and get his shots. Everybody wants to see her. Now on Prescott Road, the bird-in-hand public house in the background, we're about to wave goodbye as the royal party continue their journey and celebrate the Jubilee. The face of this familiar sight, known to locals as the Hotties, is soon to undergo dramatic change as plans for a massive new Safeway superstore are submitted by Pilkingtons. They include a 40,000 square foot supermarket, also spaces for more than 400 cars. A further application to the Borough Council Planning Department will soon arrive for a huge luxury hotel. It will take its name from the town's twin, Chalon-sur-Saône. In July of 1989, the giant glass structure is opened by the mayor of the town, Mike Doyle, who plants a tree in front of the impressive glass facade. And the verdict of St Helens shoppers? It's just what we needed. The 84-bedroom Chalong Court Hotel is completed and opened some 3.5 years later at a cost of £9 million. The 4-star flagship will be an oasis for people coming to stay in St Helens. Coal mining has all but disappeared from the town. In 1994, its depleted reserves, we're told, are too uneconomical to mine. Colliers, just like the pit windings, are on the scrap heap. The glass industry too has its problems. Its workforce no longer required. Machines and foreign trading have been allowed to decimate the workforce of St Helens. Beecham's, once upon a time among St Helens' largest employers, will soon disappear from the town forever. Its founder, Thomas Beecham, born in 1820 in Oxfordshire, at the age of 8 worked as a shepherd boy for 1 and 6 a week. He moved to Wigan as a young man in 1847 to be granted a medicine license, and soon after he sold Beecham's celebrated herbal pills. He moved to St Helens around 1858, where he sold pills on St Helens Market. His posters and advertisements became instantly recognizable. He moved from Milk Street to 32 Westfield Street. His son Joseph, later to become Sir Joseph, joined him at the time when the premises next door were bought to be used as a workshop. The Beecham's empire began to flourish after a huge advertising campaign in the 1880s. Pilkington workers marched on the town in a mass rally on February the 25th, 1994, joined by their neighbours at Beecham's and many other supporters, as company restructuring continues in St Helens and across the whole country. The locality this year is to see 700 job losses at Pilkington's and 500 more at Beecham's. Three weeks later, on the 19th of March, a similar mass rally, spearheaded by Beecham's workers and families, is supported by Pilkington employees. People from all over parts of the town and from different industries join with them in the hope to secure jobs for themselves, their children, and their grandchildren. The families of Newton-le-Willows have also been fighting the battle to save jobs. Women against pit closures became a common sight on the TV screens of the nation in a vain effort to persuade British Coal to abort their closure plan for the town's pit. In April 1964, the NCB had unveiled their £13 million showpiece, Parkside Colliery. The push-button pit, with a 1,000-strong labour force, came to Newton-le-Willows with a life expectancy of 100 years. It was to build up to a production of 1 million tonnes a year. The giant colliery, which covers 76 acres of farmland, was probably the last Lancashire pit to open. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
It seems as though we've travelled completely full circle on our journey. Now, in the mid-1990s, the last of the cones have all but disappeared, the bulldozers and diggers of the past 3 years have moved out, and the town's link with the country's motorway network is well and truly in place. Will we see this great triumph ringing the changes, as did the extension of the Prescott to Liverpool Turnpike Road to St Helens almost 250 years ago in 1746?
Bodies everywhere. The tanks coming ashore were running over the bodies. People and medics was trying to drag them under the cover of the sea wall. It was just absolutely shocking. While we was on the KG5, or shortly after, I can't remember every little detail that happened in between, but I do remember a troop shift came in. I think it would be at about 8 o'clock at night. Anyway, it was on the tide. This ship came in and it was loaded with troops. You could see them hanging over the side and everywhere. As soon as this dropped the anchor, as soon as the anchor hit the water, there was a terrific explosion and it blew half the ship apart. There was bodies everywhere, all floating like sacks of wheat on the tide, in and out, in and out. So many, you could not count them.
As it is his way to the front, to these lads at dugouts and slit trenches, our lads, of course. It's this way to the front. He says, aye, here, last time, next minute, shelled and all sorts. Come back here, you daft bug, I meant seafront, me.
And then from there, I had a telegram, missing, believed, killed. So, well, just went to pieces.
And these soon got shattered, all tiles and shrapnel flying all over the place. There was screams and it was real terror. The number of men that were being killed and dying, all over the farmyard. They were rushing out of these buildings with injuries and such, and nobody could do nothing about it. We were all cringing down where we could, and I know me in particular, I never prayed so much in all my life.